drive. They're gonna kill us. Just drive. I go off to college at the University of Georgia, and I have sold my truck to help pay for school. I don't have a car. And for a car guy, that's a really gutting sort of thing to have that be such much of your identity and be sort of stripped of that. But I was very excited to have this opportunity to go to art school at the University of Georgia, and was very excited, and whatever sacrifices I had to make. I get to the dorms about a week early, and, as did most of the guys there, and we're all sort of, adults for the first time, set loose on the world. And, we're making friends and hanging out. And there was a guy that lived on my hallway named Ryan. And, Ryan and I kind of hit it off right away. We both like girls and just talking. And Ryan was just a cool guy. We were all the same age, but all new in the world. But he just seemed like he had been around it a few times. Like he just knew older kids, and he knew seniors, and he knew girls, and he had just been places and had traveled to a lot of countries. Like he just seemed like the guy that was just more savvy and cooler than the rest of us. And we made a few errands that week, grocery store, going to Walmart to get a toaster, a blanket, or whatever thing, for setting up our little households in our dorms. And Ryan had this car that, for such a cool, savvy guy, this car was just atrocious. It was a 1973 Ford Maverick that was painted like a bass boat glitter, like a big glitter blue, but I think they used a roller. It had purple tinted windows that were mostly bubbled. The front one was clean, but the others were bubbled and kind of hard to see out of. And it was kind of like being in this weird little 70s stained glass church in there. The car had, like the automatic transmission and the 200 cubic inch straight six that Ford was using at the time that had maybe 100 horsepower. I'm pretty sure most of the brakes worked, but really the front right one seemed to do the bulk of the work. So it was sort of a squirrely car to drive. Well, through a couple of discussions, it comes out that I don't have a car. And, Ryan and I have been hanging out a few days, and he did something really cool. He said, you know what? My uncle gave me this car, and I don't really like to be seen in this car. He wasn't a snobby guy. He wasn't ungrateful, but he was really popular with ladies, and he had kind of an image to uphold. And he was sort of dating a girl at the time that had this really cool little BMW 3 Series convertible, and she let him drive that all the time. So the Maverick just sort of set, and that was sort of his point. He said, my uncle gave me this car as a graduation gift to go off to college. And, owns a junkyard. He's kind of a mechanic. When I bring it home, he's going to check it out. And if there's only like 100 miles on it, it's really going to hurt his feelings. So here are the keys to the Maverick. Since you don't have a car, why don't you just treat it like your car? You drive it if you need to. I mean, don't tear it up, don't wreck it, keep gas in it, etc. It needs things fixing on it occasionally, so you're kind of a handy guy. Fix that a little bit and keep the car up. You can use it when you want to. I was like, wow, thanks a lot. That's really amazing. Ryan and I hang out. We collect this little group of friends very quickly, and not having a car, I worked out very quickly that the way I would get to drive would be to be the designated driver. Most of the school year has now gone by. Ryan and I and everybody else have been hanging out for 7 or 8 months now. And, Ryan, being the slick, cool guy that he was, he had a friend who had sold some drugs to somebody. Now, Ryan was not a drug dealer at heart. He was a nice guy, but he was a guy that wanted to have more money than he did. He, I think, saw this other guy and kind of thought that there was some sort of gravitas to him, being the hookup at school. Of course, we all tell him, this is a very bad idea. Don't do this. This is a really, really stupid idea. He's like, yeah, you guys are probably right. So, another month or two goes by. Ryan pops up one day and he says, hey, there's a party down in Macon. My brothers have some friends. They're having a party. Do you want to go down there Saturday? I'm like, yeah, sure. Sounds great. We're in Athens, Georgia in 1993. There's plenty of girls at Georgia, but hey, there's plenty of girls in Macon maybe that haven't shot me down yet. So let's go. So, Saturday night rolls around, and, it's about 2.5, 3 hours to Macon from Athens. And it gets to be about, 5, 6 o'clock. And I'm excited. I'm like, hey, you ready to hit the road? He's like, not yet. It's kind of a later party. We'll go a little while. Okay, cool. couple hours go by again. It's going to be about 7 o'clock. Hey, it's going to be probably 10 by the time we get there. It's just going to be the ugly girls left over. You sure you don't want to take off? He's like, no, let's wait a little bit later. They like to party late. They only get going until about midnight. I'm like, okay. So we get on the road about 9:30 in the Maverick. At this point in the Maverick, even though he owned it when we went places, like I still sort of drove it. I'm like, like Brad Pitt's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like he's DiCaprio, he's the cool guy. I'm just sort of the handyman guy that drives him around. We get to Macon and we're just out in this little duplexes and just sort of the outskirts. And we roll up to this house and it's this little duplex and there's nobody there. There's like one car. And he's like, maybe they're not here yet. I'm gonna go in and check. And I was like, well, okay, I'll come easy. No, stay here. Just leave the car running. I'm like, yeah, but I'd maybe get a snack. He's like, nah, we'll go to Waffle House. My treat. We'll go to Waffle House. Just sit tight. I'm like, okay. All right, fine. We must have missed it. So big deal. I always love a road trip. So I'm sitting in the car. I'm sitting next to this Mustang. And, this is like 1993. This Mustang was, fairly new. It was just those years. It was like the worst of the worst. It was the white on white convertible, the Vanilla Ice one, with the fake painted louvers on the taillights and all the ground effects and the big spoiler on the back. I've never been a big fan of Fox body Mustangs anyway, but this was just the gaudiest, tackiest of that era. So I'm just kind of checking the car out and I'm just sitting in the car, waiting on Ryan to come out and, checking out the Mustang, just sitting there. And Ryan comes out the door and he's kind of in a hurry and he's got this big duffel bag with him. And he hops in the car and he throws the duffel in the back. So he's like, yeah, let's get out of here. The party's already gone. I'm sorry, we missed it. Let's get out of here. I'm like, okay, well, there's like anybody in there? Like, go use the bathroom, grab snacks, Doritos or something. Nah, let's just bed. Let's get out of here. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, go. Let's move right now. We get out. What's in the duffel bag? He said, some clothes. My brother left some stuff with him. I'm just going to take it back. Okay. Well, there's this sort of the duplex is like on this big, long, straight road with pine trees and stuff. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's a long straight road. So we pull out and that Maverick didn't do anything quickly, so we're getting up to speed and he's just really squirrely. And for a guy that's normally super cool and calm and collected, Ryan is just kind of like looking out the back window and he kind of touches the duffel bag and he's just like, I'm like, dude, what's going on? He's like, it's all we're good, it's good. And and there's some car coming up behind us and he does a double take and suddenly he's like, drive, they're gonna kill us, just drive. Like, well, and I'm not the kind of guy, I don't, the tone of his, I don't need to know why at this point. Like, if we're sitting here and you start running, I'm just going to start running too. We'll sort it out why later. So I put my foot to the floor and, the Maverick slowly begins to build up speed. So, he is freaking out. I'm not freaking out. I'm like, okay, so I'm just straight road. There's nowhere to go. Well, very quickly, this Mustang is like immediately behind us. And, he's like, I stole their drugs. They're going to kill us. And I'm like, you what? He's like, I'm like, what? So we're just driving. And again, given the space, that Maverick had maybe 90 miles an hour in it. A 5.0 Mustang's not necessarily a fast car, but it's way faster than this Maverick is. So we're driving and Ryan is like, okay, I was going to buy some weed from this guy. And I got there and he was all passed out. And like, I was going to just like give him the money, get the weed. But then like the whole bag was right there and he was passed out with some girl. And like, I just took the whole bag, man. And I was like, you brought me on a drug deal? He's like, I'm sorry. I didn't think I was just going to buy a little bit and sell it. It's cool. But now they know I've got it. We got to go. So I'm now just, and I'm like, we can't go anywhere. It's a straight road. So we're just doing this like movie thing, swerving back and forth. The guys are getting behind us. Eventually, we get to like a curve in the road and I kind of, believe it or not, got a little bit of distance on the curve and there's a turn. So now we're just randomly turning on roads again. And he knows where he's going. I don't know where I'm going. It's dark. As Jeremy Clarkson said, the headlights were like candles in jam jars. We're easily overrunning the headlights in this thing. It is like the worst onboard rally video ever. It's just trees and curves and mailboxes and trailers and trash cans and possums. And we're just flying through the countryside outside of Macon, being chased by these people. We get to this sort of a neighborhood and there's a stop sign and like I can see there's nothing coming, but there's like this one car over here. I'm doing this like timing it thing. So like run it, and I think the Mustang braked just enough that it just gave us just a little bit of an edge. So now we've got a little bit of a gap. We're just wildly going through this neighborhood. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. We're passing people's mailboxes, just careening around turns. And again, I'm not a great driver, but I'm like digging deep every bit of skill I have. Tires are schooling. We've lost most of the hubcaps off this car, probably bullet style at this point. I'm terrified. He's terrified. We're driving a car with a giant bag of marijuana he has stolen from an actual drug dealer. So, no exit plan whatsoever, like no escape plan, no, in my mind, somehow I'm thinking like we knew people at school that had fast cars. Like, why didn't we take that car? But he never planned on this happening. Like, he was apparently just going to buy like a little bit and sell it, and just brought me along because he wanted some company, and probably was never even going to tell me about it, but couldn't resist the opportunity to get this in, like, we're talking like the big, like the ones like sailors take off to World War II, this big body bag size bag of weed. I don't know how much this stuff's even worth. Just, it's a lot. They're chasing us. We're on this road and just swerving and swerving. And finally, there's like this truck stop, like one of those, not like the big Pilot loves interstate, but just like some sort of back highway kind of truck stop, a few bays, and it's lit. And I just go swerving in there. And now we're just careening through the rows of these trucks and through the gas pumps. And, again, I've got no speed advantage on this Mustang whatsoever, no handling advantage. All I've got is just a little bit of guile and that sort of redneck kid survival instinct. I'm channeling my inner, Bandit and the Dig Boys and Magnum PI and Michael Knight and everybody, all of my spirit animals from my childhood. Please come down and guide my hands to get away from these drug dealers. We just do this crazy, like, it's like those, like, Buster Keaton movies, or like the Scooby-Doo, like where there's the hallway and like they're running and like they're chasing them. And then like now we're chasing them and they're chasing us, and we're just zooming in and out. And, just this ridiculous cheese maze thing between all these big 18-wheelers. And I'm just waiting at any moment to just come careening around a turn and plow into a truck or hit a big diesel tank or run over a gas pump or something. We're like cutting past the actual, like the gas station that had the little airline, that like made the little ding dong when you drove over. It's just like ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, and just these crazy. This goes on for like minutes in here. It's just like the most ridiculous Keystone Cops of just these two cars just careening all around. And I finally get lucky, like they end up on like one side of a truck from me, and I hit the brakes and they overshoot it, and then I back up, and then now they're backing up, and then we go through the gas pumps again, and like I cut behind another truck. They're kind of trying to get on me, and I like turn the headlights off and just like zip behind this truck, and then kind of just went around in the dark. I think they thought I doubled back around the other side or something. We just sneak out around behind these trucks, make it out to the road, and just drive for like 2 miles with the headlights off. And miraculously, like, we got away. So, we're driving, I don't even stop. I just out of sheer terror, I just kept driving. And I'm like, tell me again, what just happened here? He said, well, I was going to buy a little bit of marijuana from this guy and sell it to these girls that I knew. And like, they would kind of think I was like the hookup. And he told me to come down. As a guy my brother knew. And he told me to come down and he would sell me some. And I got there, and I thought there were gonna be some people there, and I figured we'd hang out a little bit, and I'd buy it, and we'd go back, and you never know, and it would be fine. But I get there, and he's like, the door was open, and I went in, and he's passed out with his chick, and there's just this giant bag, and like I didn't know to, like, do I just leave the money and take a little bit, and it just seemed like a good opportunity, and I took the whole bag, and I'm like, so you and I are driving around Middle Georgia in a 1973 Ford Maverick worth as much as your shirt, with $60,000 worth of marijuana in the back seat. He's like, yeah. I'm like, we're getting rid of the marijuana. We're not driving back to Athens with this in the car. There's no way I'm driving 3 hours back to Athens in your sketchy car with the one working taillight and the marginal headlights, with worth as much as your shirt, with $60,000 worth of marijuana in the back seat. It's got to go. He's like, you can't, I'm like, nope. Like, I'm like, I'll get out and walk. You should like hide it in the woods, go back, get it tomorrow, throw it in the river, take it back to the guy, whatever. Like, you, me, and this car and this bag of pot, the equation is not going to work out. One of these things is not going back to Athens with me, and it is that bag of pot. So we agree to pull over, and he stashes it behind a dumpster at this like nursing home on the side. He thought it would be like the least likely place to look for a bag. I don't know. So he stashes it behind a dumpster and said he was going to go back and get it the next day. So we get in the car and we drive back to Athens, and it's a sort of a long, quiet ride back. He certainly didn't mean to get me in this situation, and his intentions for a amateur drug dealer started out somewhat innocent, but quickly turned much more serious. So we get back to Athens, and I give him the keys back for the Maverick. I was like, Ryan, I've really appreciated driving the Maverick, but perhaps this is better to let's just do our own thing now, and I'll find another way to get around. He went back to get this bag of pot, and being the slick, cool guy that he was, he somehow negotiated returning it to this drug dealer and was thus allowed to live another day.